So our topic today is going to be a little bit more of a nourishing practice because we've been doing some harder work over the last couple weeks. So the topic is the word ojas. And ojas is a Sanskrit word coming from the Ayurvedic tradition. And what it means, it's really a subtle essence of the kapha dosha, which is this time of year, which is earth and water is the dominant elements of this time of year. So ojas goes hand in hand with earth and water. And so it's something that can be very easily depleted in our systems. It gives us our immunity. So that's really important right now, especially with COVID. So if we deplete ourselves, our immune system is not going to be as strong and as healthy. It also nourishes our nervous systems. So if we're feeling kind of anxious and fried, overwhelmed, we can't sleep at night, tendency is our ojas is very depleted. It gives us stability in our bodies. So if we're really shaky and unstable, again, that's a sign, but not only in our bodies, but in our minds as well. So how stable are we feeling mentally, right? If we're kind of all over the place, our mind can't settle, we can't, sit for a meditation practice, another sign that our ojas might be depleted. How do we get good ojas? So just a quick talk here. This could be like a whole hour discussion, but I want to just give you guys a flavor of it. So how do we get good ojas? Is really by nourishing ourselves, both with food and also the choices that we make in our lives. So ojas is the end product of our good digestion. So if our digestion is weak and we're having a lot of issues with our digestion, we're not going to be able to extract the nutrients out of our food to nourish our tissues and nourish our bodies, nourish our nervous systems. So the Ayurvedic tradition suggests that, we eat foods that are very nourishing. However, if our digestive fire is low, we got to take care of that first. If our digestive fire is pretty good, then we can eat some of these, they're a little bit heavier foods that are nourishing. There are things recommended like dates, honey, avocados, sweet potatoes. These are all kind of really grounding, nourishing foods. And one of my favorite things right now is to eat dates with a little chocolate ghee. And ghee is like an Ayurvedic food that's really recommended for nourishing our tissues. So they sell now, you can probably get it at Wegmans. I found it online. It's called Chakti. And it's chocolate ghee, and it's all natural, no processed sugar in it. Put a little bit of that in a date. So good. So that's my little ojas nourishing treats. The other thing is making sure we're getting enough rest. We're not stressing ourselves. We're not overworking. We're managing our emotions. These are all ways that we can, preserve our ojas. The yogis say that we're born with 8 drops of it in our heart. That's why I chose to do it this month. But then there's also another cup of it circulating through our bodies. And so our job is to kind of try to preserve and nourish this kind of mythical substance called ojas. So that's what we're going to do in our practice today. We're going to start with some somatic movement, because this is, to me, one of the really nourishing yoga practices that I'm aware of. We're going to then move through some kind of slow flow. So moving slower is also helpful for our ojas. It's grounding for our systems and good for our nervous systems. And then we'll end with some relaxing stuff at the end as well, and a little seated meditation. So I'm going to meet you guys on your mat. You are going to need a blanket down. So I always put this nice, thick, heavy blanket on my mat when I do somatic. If you don't have a blanket that is not too slippery, like a yoga blanket would work, I would go right on your carpet for this first part, because you want to be able to slide and glide your body, because that is water element. We want to be fluid in our bodies, and that's going to help the ojas as well. So find a nice soft surface that's not too slippery as far as is it going to get bunched up in your feet? And you will also need either a bolster or 2 bed pillows. So if you want to grab those, if you don't have them, I did put that in the notes in the newsletter, but 2 cushions or bed pillows, yoga blocks, and then the blankets for your mat, and if you want something to cover with. So I'm going to go ahead and mute and meet you guys on the mat. Feel free to start your music if you want it to play. All right. So we're going to come down flat on your back. You know, some of you guys are still getting props there. So we'll come flat on our backs. If you need something under your head, you can always have it temporarily, but eventually we're going to need to move it out so we can move. So you can either be with legs out or feet flat, totally your choice, but take a couple of moments to allow yourself to land here in this position. Feel the ground beneath you. So this is the element of the earth, which is nurturing, stable, grounding. And then taking a moment to assess where you are. What is the quality of your mind? How stable is your mind as you begin your practice? What are you feeling like in your body? Do you feel nourished? Do you feel maybe depleted? Kind of that fried nervous system? So what's happening for you as you begin this practice? And then taking a few nice, long, deep, nourishing breaths. Allowing that breath to come into your abdomen, letting it really rise and fall with your breath. And let the breath come in nice and slowly, allowing the belly to be very soft. Imagining the dome of your diaphragm kind of right above area of stomach and liver area. And as that diaphragm goes up and down, it's giving the organ body that little bit of massage. It's giving it movement. So rather than being stuck and stagnant, it's giving it a little movement. Let the breath be so soft, imagining kind of the edges of your diaphragm as a soft flower petal. So really soft and sweet with that breath. Let's take just 2 more cycles. And as you exhale, really let your body settle and drop. You can even start to favor the exhales in your practice. All right, so from here, go ahead and keep your right leg bent and slide your left leg out straight. And if you haven't pinned me to your screen, you might want to do so because it'll be easier to see the movement patterns. Your arms could be out at your sides, just slightly. They don't have to be a complete T. And then we're just simply going to slide the left leg into like a bound ankle. So this is called a Baddha Konasana slide. And then slide it back out and just repeat that a few times. And just feeling into your hip joint and your knee joint. So our joints get tighter and drier as we age. And so that's another part of our Ojas, is keeping our joints nice and lubricated, nice and juicy. So Ojas is often referred to as our juiciness in our bodies. That can also be our creative juices. Now, the next time you slide that foot up, let the right knee drop toward the left foot. And then come back up, slide the left leg out. And then again, slide it to bound angle and let that knee drop in toward your foot. So we're just doing some sliding and gliding movements. Start to let your head roll to your right shoulder and press into the left, your right foot. Let your right hip lift off the ground as you complete the movement. And then slide back, leg comes out straight. And we're just going to repeat that a few times. Left knee slides, right knee drops. Look over your right shoulder, press into your foot, lift your hip, and then slowly return. So you want these movements to feel really nourishing, slow, almost like a very luxurious quality to the movement. And this not only nourishes our tissues and our joints, but also just kind of nourishing the mind and the nervous system with this repetition. Now we're going to start to add one more piece. So keep doing this sliding movement. Next time you're in the bound angle, lift your left foot off the ground as your head turns to the right. And it adds just a little element of rotation there. So keep that going. And we're going to do about 3 more cycles on this side. Can you challenge yourself to go nice and slow so that you can feel the little nuances of the movement? So this creates new pathways in our brain when we go slow. Last time. All right, and then slide that leg out, slide the other leg out, and just pause for a moment and just feel any changes through maybe the left side of the body, maybe even through the right side. We have these little moments to drop in, giving our brains a chance to register the work you just did. All right, so we're going to do the other side. So we're going to bend the left knee, keep the right leg out straight. You can have a little space between your legs and your foot. And starting with the Baddha Konasana slide. So just slide that right foot up. The knee comes out to the side. And just starting to get that nice lubrication into the joints here. You can always close your eyes if that feels safe for you. And safety is another important aspect of Ojas. If Ojas is low, we're always going to feel like we're on guard, right? We're always waiting for the next shoe to drop. We can never feel content. So maybe if the eyes could close, you could sense from within, sense your body, sense the sensations that you're creating by this movement. Starting to let that left knee angle into the right, turn your head to the left. You can start to push off your foot. And then repeat that a few more times. Right knee slides up, left knee drops in. Head turns to your left shoulder. And we press off the foot, lift the hip, gives us a little contraction in our back muscle. Do a few more like this. So maybe 2 more, then we're going to add in the lifting of the foot. One more here. Now the next time you slide that leg up, see if you can lift the right foot off the ground and you add that little element of a twist. We're going to be working a lot into the hips because this is the home of the water element in our body. So relating to our creativity. Ojas also relates to our reproductive capability. So again, pelvic area, hip area. So the last 2 like this. And then again, slide both legs out and just have a moment to drop in here. So how the somatic movement works is that The repetition is called pandiculation, and that helps to repattern our brain where our muscles might be stuck in what we call the new normal, right? So if we're always tense, we're always anxious, we've got this tension in our bodies, it becomes the new normal. And then our brain forgets how to relax those tissues. So now we're going to hold this position and pull both knees out to the side into our bound angle, and then take them out again. So you're almost like your frog legs. Slide them out. Notice for a little clicky clacking that's going to happen in our joints. It's nothing to really be too concerned about, but just noticing we have that stickiness in the joint. Imagine that you're pulling up from your hips, from the hip flexor area, rather than using the legs. So initiate maybe more from your core. All right, next time you pull the knees out to the side, pause, and you're gonna only go about part way. So not all the way into your groin, about part way. And now we're gonna start a little shuffle with the feet. So we're gonna slide the right foot forward, left foot towards you, and then alternate. So you're sliding the pinky edges of your feet along your blanket. And just shuffle those feet. And then if you want, you can go a little faster, get a little bit more movement going here. And you could maybe go smaller and faster, or larger. See what feels good. Just get those hips moving a bit. And then release. Bring the knees up and draw them into the chest. And let's just give a good squeeze and rock a little bit side to side. All right, go ahead and roll over to your side, and we're going to come on up into a seated posture. You're welcome to sit on something if you feel like that would be helpful to you. And we're going to just have our feet in front of us for a moment, hands behind. Lift through your chest, draw your shoulders back, and just do a little windshield wiper side to side. Let's do one more on each side. And then pausing, coming up and holding onto your shins for a moment. Sit up nice and tall. Good. Drop the right leg out to the side, like you're in that bound angle shape. The left foot is going to stay with that foot flat, the knee is up. And then we're going to turn over to the right leg. Let your left sit bone come off the ground. And then start to walk it out into a stretch here over that knee. Now, you can have your right hand down, or you can have your forearm down, and then take your left arm and really reach it on a diagonal away from you. Let your head drop down, and maybe turn your navel more toward your bent leg side. Breathing here, trying not to let that leg drop in too much. Keep it pressed open. Breathing here. All right, so now slowly starting to come up, and we'll change sides. So now we're going to bring that left knee down like Baddha Konasana. Right foot is flat, and you're going to tip over toward the bent leg side. Let the sit bone lift, and then go ahead and walk it out. Stretch more through that right arm side. Turn your navel toward your bent leg. Just holding it here, another breath or two. All right, now slowly start to come up back through center, and now both knees drop open into your bound angle. Hold on to your ankles or your feet, wherever you can, and lift up tall through your spine. Drop the chin a little bit, lift the back of the skull. Just feel that connection in through the back of the skull down towards your shoulder blades. One more breath here. And we're going to start in some cat-cows in our bound angle. So inhale, arch your spine, pull your chest forward, and then exhale, rock back on your sit bones, and then continue a few more rounds. Let's do 2 more cycles. And then on your next inhale, let's go ahead and come up. Use your hands to draw your knees up, and then we'll come into tabletop pose, all fours. You can keep your blanket down for just a little bit longer. We'll take it off when we come up to stand. So tabletop pose, we already did some cat-cows, but let's go ahead, inhale into a slight cow, and then exhale, push back into child's pose. This will be the repetition for a few rounds. So inhale, coming forward, slight lift of your gaze. Exhale, push back into child's pose and try to empty out completely. So keep that going and stay with those really nice long exhalations. So see if you can favor the exhalation phase of this movement pattern and let that be nourishing. So the exhales are really bring us more into that calmer state of mind and help us preserve our ojas. So go ahead, do 2 more cycles like this. Very good. See if you can let those exhales get a little longer on each repetition. And next time you come into tabletop pose, we're going to tuck the toes, lift up to a bent knee, downward facing dog. And then we're going to drop the knees. Inhale, look up. Exhale, push back. So adding in the dog now. Stay with the same movement pattern. Inhale, forward. Exhale, tuck the toes, lift up, down dog. And then knees down. Inhale, look up. Exhale, slowly back to your child's pose. So let's go ahead, do that one 2 more rounds. Letting the exhales be the longest part of the process here. This is one of my favorite little series to get that nervous system sort of calmed down. So it's the repetition is very helpful, the long exhalations, and the slow movements. We're going to add on one more piece. So meeting in child's pose. And then on your next inhale, we're going to add a lift up. So on your knees, rise up, reach through your arms. And as you exhale, back down child's pose. And same movement pattern. Inhale, table. Exhale, down dog. And then keep going. Knees down for the inhale. Exhale to child's. And then inhale, we rise up on the knees. That's it. So let's go through that round now a few more times. If you'd like, you could even maybe close the eyes, but if not, have a nice soft gaze. And if you mess up, don't worry, just kind of go with it. So try not to get too caught up in, am I doing this right? Just let it be a nice flow for yourself. Last time when we add on again. All right, So we're going to add on now. So next time you come down into child's pose, just pause for a moment. Just take an inhale and then follow your exhale all the way to completion, and maybe even give a little squeeze to your belly, squeeze out all of the air. Take one more cycle like this. Good. And then on your next inhale, go ahead, come up into your tabletop. You might want your blocks. We're going to work with a little bit of lunges. So if you want your blocks, you can use them. We're going to step forward with the right foot. So we'll come into a lunge now. So with or without blocks, just depends on your arm length here. If you're all rounded over to get to the ground, you'll be straining. So better to have the blocks so we can have a nice tall spine. So we're going to have the inhale here, a little arch to the spine. Maybe we'll look up a little bit. And as you exhale, slide back into kind of a half Hanumanasana, like a half split pose. And you can move your blocks so they're under your shoulders, and then repeat that. Coming forward like a little Anjane, maybe a looking up a little bit, and then exhale, shift back. And just repeat that a few times. And then noticing perhaps any sensations in the body where you're holding any patterns of restriction in your tissues. One more here. Next time you come in through the inhalation phase and the knee is bent, stay there, pause with the chest, and let's float the arms up. So inhale, reach up, maybe to the back a little bit. And then exhale, we're going to bring the hands inside the front knee. So walk your right foot over to the right. We're coming into lizard pose. Now you can stay with hands up, arms straight. You can come down to those bent elbows. You could be somewhere in between with some blocks. So just find what position works for you. And we'll stay here for a few moments. You might drop open into the pinky toe side of the right foot if that feels good. So we get a little more open in here through the inner thigh and the groin area. So as our Ojas relates to our immunity, different parts of our body house the lymph. And so the groin is one of those areas. So if we open up into this part, we get a little more flow. And the lymph is what helps us release toxins from our bodies. And toxins are one of the things that depletes our Ojas. And that could be toxins in our food, the environment, and even our thought patterns. Now we're all going to come up onto the hands with or without blocks, and then circle your hips around here. So just find a circle, let that leg move, and just observing creakiness, observing if you don't make like a nice smooth circle, is it kind of jumpy? So just noticing, and then go ahead, go the other direction. All right, step that foot back and then set your blocks to the side. We're going to slide down onto the belly. We will come back to that other side. Don't let me forget. Okay, we're coming down into Sphinx and we're going to slide the right knee out to the side like that bound angle. And then from here, we're going to walk over toward that right leg. And you can kind of stack your arms up if you like. If you want, you can tuck your toes under. We did something like this last week. So I want to think about pulling your left rib cage away from your left hip to stretch through that hip flexor. If you want, you could even come down all the way, rest your head down. If you need more nourishment, if you want to stay up, you can stay up. Hold here, one more breath. All right, and then slowly release, come back to center. And then stack up those arms on top of each other, tuck your toes under, pull your arms towards you, pull your navel forward, lift your chest, push back through your heels. One more breath here, just a kind of a version of cobra pose. So getting that good stretch to the belly, and now release and press back. Let's go all the way to a child's pose. Inhale, rise up on your knees. Let's go through that sequence again. Exhale down to child's. Inhale through tabletop. Exhale, downward facing dog. Knees down to the floor. Grab your blocks if you're using them and step forward with your left foot. So we'll do that on the other side. So initially you might want the blocks. So we do the Ardha Hanumanasana. So from here, inhale into the lifted phase and exhale, shift back and straighten that front leg. And then go ahead and repeat that. Drop into the hips, knee forward, and then shift back. Good. So let that be the pattern for a few more rounds. Try not to jam the knee. We want to make sure we're not locking that knee or pressing it down toward the ground. Keep a little micro bend. One more time through. So just establishing this nice rhythm is helping to calm our nervous system. Now stay in that forward position, starting to lift through the lower belly, anchor the tailbone down, and then the arms can rise up. From here, release your hands down, coming inside that front foot. So you can widen that front foot, widen the back knee, make space, and then hold for a few moments in your lizard pose. So you could either stay up on your hands or come down onto your forearms. You could also let that front knee drop open so you're on the pinky edge of that front foot. Staying here for a few breaths. Let's take one more here. Follow your exhale all the way out. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly start to come up, and you might want to be up on the blocks, and we'll circle the hips around. And then go the other direction. All right, coming back and then stepping that foot back, set your blocks to the side and come down onto your belly. And we'll do that other side. So now slide your left knee out to the side like bound angle. Walk yourself over to the left. You could put your head down or keep your head up. And then think about pulling your right rib cage away from your hip to open up into your hip flexor psoas area. You can tuck those toes under and push back into your heel. That'll accentuate the sensation. All right, go ahead and release back through center. Stack up your arms, tuck your toes, reach your heels, and pull the belly forward. Good, release, press back, tabletop pose. Bring your right leg in front of your left leg, like you're doing eagle pose or Gomukhasana. And spread the feet wide apart, like they're gonna reach to the opposite sides of your mat. Good. Okay, hands are down like you're in tabletop pose. We're gonna inhale, slight cow, And as you exhale, push your hips back as far as you like. They could go a little bit or a lot. And then repeat. Inhale, coming forward. Excuse me, tickling my throat. And press back. Let's do 2 more like that. Now, this next time you come back, you can stay in that part way and hold it, or walk yourself all the way back and see if you could sit back into your Gomukhasana. So the legs are crossed with the right leg on top. Good. Bring your fingers back behind you. And if you want, you can stay in that halfway shape and just hold it. And then little back bend here. Open through your collarbones, lift your heart. And then we're going to release, sit back on your sit bones and come into Navasana. Stretch your legs up. You can stay with hands behind you or reach your arms forward. If you're still holding a halfway shape, you can unwind your legs. We're all going to come into bound angle, soles of the feet together. Inhale here, exhale, fold forward. You can also stay upright if this is too much in your hips or your back. And then slowly rising up, cross your legs and come forward into your tabletop pose. I'm just going to adjust my mat here. Okay. So we're now repeat that. Cross the left leg in the front. Try to take your feet away from the center. Couple rounds, sort of like a cat-cow. Inhale, chest lifts. Exhale, push back. And go ahead, do that a few more rounds. Kind of squeezing those inner thighs towards each other. Noticing sensations in your body, so stay grounded in your body. This is good for our Ojas to get out of our heads and into our bodies. Next time you come back, you can hold this partway shape or walk yourself all the way back and see if you can come to your sit bones, and then you're in your Gomukhasana. Bring your hands behind you, little back bend, lift your heart, broaden your collarbones. And then uncross the legs and we'll come into our Navasana. You can keep hands on the floor or reach those arms forward. You could also keep the knees bent. Try to bring your back in so you're not completely rounding here. We're a little bit onto the backs of those sit bones. Maybe the legs straighten. And then soles of the feet together. Inhale, option to fold forward as you exhale into your bound angle. All right, slowly coming up. Now, if you've still got a blanket on, we're going to take that off so we can start to move a little bit more into some standing work. Okay, so from here, let's all come into downward facing dog. Once you arrive in your dog, take a few moments to pedal it out, move it around. Give the head a little release, shaking it out, yes and no. Press firmly through your palms. And find that sensation of a little corkscrew action through the palms, turning them slightly open. On your next inhale, plank pose, top of a push-up. And as you exhale, moving back to your dog. Let's do a couple rounds like that. Inhale, plank. Exhale, dog. One more time, inhale, plank, and then we're gonna lower all the way down to the ground. Bring your right knee out to the side again into that hip opener. So now you're gonna keep the right arm in, stretch your left arm in front of you. That's it. You can rest your head on that right arm if you like. It's kind of like you feel like you're a rock climber or a Spider-Man on your belly here. Tuck your left toes under And walk your left hand away any amount. Lift your left kneecap. On your next inhale, lift your head and chest off the ground. So kind of like an asymmetrical little back bend here. If you want to go further, lift your left arm and left leg. Push down into the ground with your right arm to lift a little higher. And lift from your back inner thigh so we're not rotating the leg. One more breath. And then release. Switch sides. Take the other leg out to the side. Reach forward with your right arm. Tuck your right toes. And let your head just rest down for a moment. See if you can walk those right fingers forward any amount more. On your next inhale, lift up, head, chest, and shoulders. Press into the left arm, lift your chest. Maybe float the arm and the leg up. And holding here, lifting from your inner thigh. One more breath. And then release. Slide that leg back. Regular cobra. Hands by the chest, lower chest, elbows in. Roll the shoulders back and lift up. Try to do that same pulling action we did earlier. Pull your hands towards your feet, stretch through your belly. Release, take it up and back, downward facing dog. All right, from here, go ahead and walk your feet to meet your hands. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, fold forward. Two more like that. Inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. One more time. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to fold. Inhale, let's rise all the way up, reaching through your arms. And exhale, release the arms down. Good. Couple of sun cells. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands, step back, plank pose. I'm going to try to remember to, not overdo things today. You can always drop your knees. Try to move slowly. Go ahead, lower down. Inhale through your cobra. Exhale, down dog. Hold your down dog. Now let's take a few breaths here. Firm up your arm muscles. Lift your sit bones. Keep breathing. So you might notice when you slow down, things seem harder. That's definitely often the case, because when we go fast, we start to rely on momentum. We're not using our good form. So it might be harder when we go a little slower. Take an inhale. Exhale, go ahead and step or even lightly jump. That feels good for you today. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release. Good. One more time through on your own. I'll talk you through. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, prepare, and then step back, plank pose. All right, go ahead and lower down. Inhale through your cobra. Shoulder heads back. Downward facing dog. Lift those hips up and back. Looks great, guys. Hold your dog for a few breaths and feel the stability in your body. Firm up through your arms. Firm up through your shoulder girdle. So our stability is part of our Ojas. Big inhale, and as you exhale, step or lightly jump top of the mat. Inhale to a halfway lift, and then exhale, fold and stay in the fold for a few extra breaths. You can hold opposite elbows, big toes, whatever you like here. Make sure we're not pressing those knees back or sending the hips way back. Have a little micro bend and really feel your feet, root your feet into the ground. And you might sway or you might stay still. Go ahead, switch the crossing of your arms if you're doing opposite elbows. Good. Coming back to center, and you can either do a nice slow roll up, use your legs, not your back, or press up and come up to stand. And then pause in your mountain pose for a moment. Make sure your blocks are still near the top of your mat. If they're not there, you might work with those again if you need them. All right. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And then step back, take the vinyasa if you wish, or you can go right to dog if you like to skip the vinyasa this morning. Meeting in dog, we're going to inhale the right leg straight up and then bend your knee. Let's open the hip up and circle that knee a few times. Again, getting into that juiciness of the hip. And then we take it straight back up and step through again, dropping onto the back knee. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands down, blocks if you need them. Shift back, half Hanumanasana. Good, shift forward, lizard pose. Walk the hands inside the feet, widen the foot, and circle the hips around. Switch direction. Walk that foot back in. Grab your blocks if you don't have them right in front of you, and lift the back knee off the ground. Coming into a high lunge. Hug those outer hips in, reach your chest forward. Inhale, we're getting that extension, and as you exhale, modified pyramid, you're gonna lift the front toes up, coming onto your heel, straighten that front leg. Just moving the block so you could see that. And then repeat, foot down, heart forward, little lift. Keep reaching back through your back heel, and then exhale, modified pyramid. One more time. Inhale, forward, heart lifts. Exhale, hips back, spine long. All right, and then go ahead, release that foot down. Stay in the high lunge, hug your outer hips in. Inhale, heart forward. Exhale, right arm open into a twist. Push into that bottom hand, reach through the top arm. And then release the hand down, drop onto the back knee, step back, downward facing dog. You always have the option, vinyasa, no vinyasa, child's pose. Hold your dog, your choice. Staying here if you're in dog for another moment. Okay, next inhale, left leg up, bend your knee, open your hip, and circle it around. Good, back to center, square off, step through, drop onto that back knee. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. Exhale, hands down, blocks if you need them, half Hanumanasana. Shift back. Good, shift forward, lizard pose. Widen your front foot, hands can be up high so we can circle those hips around. Go the other direction. So just a shorter one now, like 3 times in each direction. Coming back through the center, walk your foot in, find your blocks. If you need them, if you don't need them, that's fine. Lift that back knee up. Inhale the heart forward. Exhale, half or modified rather, pyramid pose. And then repeat. Knee down, keep the back heel reaching back, and then go ahead and shift. Let's do that again. And now we're gonna stay. Make sure those hands are under the shoulders, and then on your next exhale, reach that left arm, open it into a twist. Hold there, push into the bottom hand, reach the top arm as if you'll touch the ceiling. And then release, hand down, drop onto your back knee and step back. Good, come back to your downward facing dog. You know your choices. Vinyasa or not. If you need a child's pose, take one. And we'll meet back in our dog in a moment. So if you're in your child's pose, take another breath there. All right, let's come back to down dog if you're not there. Inhale the right leg up. Bend your knee, open your hip one time. Straighten the leg, step through, warrior one. Spin your back heel down. Inhale, float the arms up. Keep your gaze soft, the base of your neck soft, your jaw nice and soft, so try not to lock anything. Breathing here. One more, reach a little higher. And then release, hands onto your hips. Step your back foot in a few inches and straighten those legs. So we're going to square the hips forward, preparing for a full pyramid pose. I'm going to call it triangle today for some reason. And then we're going to take the hands behind us. And you have some options here. I like to make fists and knock my fists together because full namaskar, reverse namaskar bothers my wrists. If you like a full reverse namaskar, you can bring your palms together or even just your fingertips. Sometimes that works for me too. Today I'm going to go for fists. Now, draw the top of your sacrum down, lift your hip points up. So you use your hands to draw the sacrum down, lengthening your tailbone. Open across your collarbones, hug your inner thighs. Engage your legs, hugging those inner thighs towards each other as you start to fold forward as you exhale. Now remember, that front knee, we're trying not to lock it. Coming forward, keeping the shoulder heads back. Slight drop of your chin so you feel a lengthening in the back of your skull. Hold here in the halfway shape. Hug those hips in, pull the front sit bone in. And now if you like, continue to fold over that leg. If it's too much to keep the arms back, release your hands down to the floor or your blocks. If you like the hands behind your back, let them stay there and let your head start to descend. So now we've got to keep those legs super strong so that we can allow the fold to happen. So let those legs really be our stability. Let's hold here just one more breath. Notice if you've got a lot of shaking going on. Really plant the front big toe mound. And then we're all going to release the hands down. Bend into that front knee, step back, downward facing dog. See if you can move out of it nice and slowly. Same options, take your vinyasa if you like, hold your dog. We're going to go right to the other side in a moment. If you need that child's pose, take it. Okay, so let's try side two. Coming back to your dog. I'm going to watch you guys this time. So inhale, left leg up. One time, bend that knee, open the hip, keep those arms strong. And then inhale, straighten that leg, step through. We're coming into warrior one. Bend that back heel down, float the arms up. Very nice. Let's see if we can send the back thigh bone back a little more and ground into the back heel as you bend into your front knee. Good. Lift the frontal hip points up and see if you can reach a little higher. Okay. Hands come to the hips. Step that back foot in a little bit. Good. And we're going to have both legs straight now. So adjust the feet so you feel stable. Sometimes if our feet are too narrow, it's going to feel really wobbly. So we want to be able to feel that stability. All right. And then hug those inner thighs in, engage the legs, lift through your chest, find your arm position, whatever one you choose here behind your back, or you can just stay with your arms in front if you wish. Okay, open the collarbones. Send the top of the sacrum down. And we'll take an inhale as you exhale, starting to hinge about halfway, making sure we're not jamming that front knee. Good. Lift the shoulder heads again and see if you can get that feeling of the length in the back of your skull that we did earlier. Good. Now you can stay here for a little bit longer or start to fold over that front leg. Favor stability. So really anchor into the legs, hug the legs in. Maybe you can fold even inside that front leg. If you need to, release your arms down to the floor or blocks. Otherwise, let's hold for another breath or two, getting some nice traction through the spine. All right, go ahead, release those arms down and very slow motion exit. Make your way back. If you want to take the vinyasa, we're all going to meet in child's pose from here. And as you hold your child's pose, just assessing what's going on in your body. Have you been pushing yourself, depleting yourself? Are you allowing this practice to nourish you, staying a little slower and more grounded with your movements? You might find a little sway with your hips here, side to side, if that feels good, or stay still if that feels better. Oh my goodness, it's 12 o'clock. All right, I want to try and fit in one more little sequence here. So let's come back up to down dog. We're going to go through a pigeon sequence. So we're going to inhale that right leg up again, bend your knee, open your hip, and then we're going to slide the right knee to the right wrist. The right shin is on an angle with that foot pointing toward the left hip. Now, pigeon is not happy in your knee. You can do reverse on your back, do figure 4. You can also stick a prop under the front sit bone. You can have a block there, which will take a little pressure out the knee. A blanket is also fine. If you can, you're fine without. But we want to try and get the hips a little level here. So pull the front sit bone back and in a little bit. We'll take some pressure out the knee and let the left hip roll a little forward. We can stay up or we can start to come down if you wish. So you can have a more chill pigeon here if that feels good. And then just dropping into the ground, feel the earth. Feel the fluidity of the pelvis. And let the pelvis get heavy. Let's hold 2 more breaths. All right, after that second breath, we're going to start to come up, walk yourself up, and we're going to shift over onto that right hip so we can swing the back leg around. So come to face you. And we'll come into Ardha Matsyendrasana. So you might have that foot right in front of your left shin, or you might cross it over if that feels good. Try to level out your sit bones. You might want to pull in a prop, and then use your hands to hug that shin back and help you lift your chest. Roll the shoulders back. Root your feet down to help you get a little more buoyant in your upper body. And then we're going to turn over to your right toward that front leg. And those of you who want can hook the elbow past the knee if your arm bone is long enough. If your arm bone's not long enough, you're going to feel like you have to round to get that shape. So don't worry about it. Just hold on to the leg if that's better. Now, once you're there, inhale tall, exhale turn, broaden the collarbones, broaden the elbows. Soften your gaze. And let's hold another breath. Sit bones down, back of the skull lifts up. And then we'll unwind on an inhale back to center and come into Gomukhasana. So we started with this in the beginning. So if this is not a good pose for you, you can just do a simple cross legs as an option. You can also sit up on a block or a prop. Okay, inhale the arms up. As you exhale, right hand down, left arm over into a side stretch. Maybe that elbow bends toward the ground. Good, inhale up and side bend over to the other side. You can go as far as you like here. And then inhale up through center. And now we fold over the front leg. You can always stay upright if that feels better on your body. The inner thighs lightly draw in. You could even let the head get heavy here. Let's take one more breath. And then on your next inhale, slowly walk it up. Take your time. Bring your hands back behind you and take a little counter, little back bend. Lift your heart toward the sky. Unwind the legs, come into Navasana. Reach your legs up in front of you. I'm going to be my feet in front of you, sorry. And then we'll come into bound angle, soles of the feet together. Going to take a bound angle twist. So bring your right hand behind you, left hand holds the knee. And then pull on your knee with your hand and turn. At the same time, extend through your left inner knee and inner groin. Keep the chest lifted. And then inhale through center and exhale other side. Hand pulls on the knee if you can, and then extend through the right inner knee. Good, slowly release back to center. Use your hands, draw the knees up, and then cross your legs, roll forward, downward facing dog. We're gonna do that on the other side. If you want one more opportunity for vinyasa, that's your choice. When you're ready, you're gonna inhale left leg up and come into pigeon on your other side. So left knee toward the left wrist, right foot on an angle, pointing back towards your right hip. And then we're gonna try and have that levelness in the hips by pulling the sit bone a little back and letting the right hip soften a little forward. You can stay upright or start to fold over that front leg. You can prop up on your arms or completely release down. Find your nice soothing breath here. Yeah, coming onto your back if this bothers your knee. Long exhalations help you to soften and dissolve into the ground. water and earth, giving us nourishment and stability, juiciness, flow in our minds, in our bodies. Last breath. And then when you're ready, slowly walking it up. And you're going to roll towards your left hip and swing that back leg around, coming into the twist position. Foot can be in front of your shin or cross over your leg. Before we twist, sitting up nice and tall, draw the shoulders back. We want to root down through the feet so we can really lift up through the back of the skull. All right, then we start to turn. So you can bring that left hand behind you. Keep holding the shin or cross the elbow if you like. Inhale, lift up taller. Exhale, turn. Nice, smooth, even breath. Be soft in your gaze, base of your neck. Inhale to unwind back to center, coming into Gomukhasana or a cross leg position. You can always add a prop under your sit bones. Hug the inner thighs, bring your hands to the ground, sit up tall. And then inhale, arms reach. Side bend to your left. Inhale, come up, side bend to your right. Inhale, come up, both arms up for a moment, and then fold over your legs. Having a couple breaths here, hugging those inner thighs. The sit bones drop. Right, slowly walking yourself up, lean back, unwind your legs, stretch those legs up into your Navasana. This time, feet down, just a brief reverse tabletop. Lift your hips. And then release. Take your legs straight out in front of you this time. If hamstrings are kind of a little tweaky, you could always put a prop under your knees to have a little bend, or you could just bend your knees a little bit. But we're going to draw the sit bones straight back behind us to facilitate a forward fold from the hips. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, hinge from your hip creases and fold forward. Let your head get heavy. Sit bones heavy, legs heavy. And just soften into this pose. We're going to get done about 5 minutes late, guys. Sorry about that. I think I need to go back to an hour and a half. Never seem to have enough time. All right, slowly starting to come up. And we're going to come down onto our back. So take your time, come down, have your props nearby, everything that you might want for Shavasana, and find whatever is the heaviest thing that you have nearby. So maybe it's a blanket, a sandbag, a weighted blanket. We're going to come into kind of a reclined child's pose. So bring your knees up towards your chest, like you're giving yourself a hug. But then you're going to take whatever that weighted thing is. So I'm going to put my nice heavy blanket, and you could even fold it up so it's nice and heavy on your shins. And then let your arms just relax and let the weight of that object weight your shins, weight your lower back. Now we're going to take about 1 minute here and let the back melt into the ground. So you could put pillows on your shins. You could put a sandbag. I really like when I do, the first time I did it, I used my weighted blanket. That was really nice. Couple more breath cycles. Letting everything go now. Come back to long exhalations. Let's take 2 more long, soft breaths. And as you exhale, really melt into the ground. Visualize that you're like one of those snowflakes outside, and the edges of your snowflake are just melting, dissolving into the ground. All right, so from here, we're going to set up for a restorative Shavasana. So either grab your 2 bed pillows. You can roll to your side just to come up, or a bolster. So I have a bolster, so I'm going to grab that. If you like it inclined, you could incline it a little bit with a block or something, but we are going to do bound angle. So kind of negotiate with your props to what is best for your body. I'm going to put a pillow up there for the head, and then either blocks or maybe some rolled blankets for under your knees. Make sure that you have a little space between your body and your bolster. The bolster for me, I have the thick one, so it's a little bit higher, but your bed pillow should be pretty nice on your lower back. And then something to support your shins and knees and come into bound angle. Now, when I come into it, I like to kind of scoot my sit bones and tailbone a little forward, and that gives some traction into the lower back. And then as you come back, maybe lengthen. So I'm going to push into my hands and lengthen my lower back so that the props catch my ribs. And then the pillow is just under the back of the skull, not your shoulders. And then coming into a nice restful reclined bound angle, Supta Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to be coming up, but you guys get cozy. Make any adjustments that you need to make to be comfortable. Because once we're here, we want to really be able to drop into stillness. So we can assess the level of speed in our lives. How fast do we zoom through our day? No pun intended. So how fast are we going through our activities? And how often do we take a moment to just sit, breathe, be still? This is helping to preserve, cultivate our ojas, our vitality, our immunity, contentment. Even when we take time to be in nature and observe a beautiful scene like the ocean or a sunset, this is nourishing for our senses, as opposed to the life we're all living right now, where we're always looking at a screen. That can also deplete our ojas. So take a few more conscious breaths in which you linger in your exhale, following that exhale to completion and allowing it to help you melt into the ground. Imagine the breath like the tide of the ocean. And as you inhale, it's like the tide coming into the shore. And as you exhale, it's like that wave coming back and being absorbed into the ocean. Do that a few more rounds. Inhale, as if the wave is coming to the shore. And this is like our separateness. And as we exhale, we merge into unity, knowing that we are part of the ocean, but we are also the ocean itself. Try that one more cycle. Dissolve into that sense of spaciousness. Knowing that bliss is our natural state. Ananda, Sanskrit word for bliss. And the more we cultivate our ojas, the more we preserve it, the more access we have to this state of bliss. Ojas has a unifying value that nourishes our physiology and enlivens our connection to pure consciousness. All right, so we're going to take a moment for a seated practice. I've already kept you guys a little late, so if you need to go, I completely understand. It's about 12:20. If you want to stay in Shavasana instead of the meditation, you need more nourishment there, stay there. Those of you who wish to sit, you can take your time, take a few breaths, stretch it out. And we'll come into a seated position of your choosing. As you're ready, please know you're welcome to stay on your back. So if you're coming out of Shavasana, don't rush. Take a moment on your side. And then when you feel ready, you can join me seated or stay where you are. If you're heading out, thank you. We're just going to sit for a minute if you're able to do that, have time. So find the tops of your sit bones, lengthen up through the crown of your head, let the shoulders drop. And then either a soft gaze or close your eyes. Come back to a very soft, quiet breath. Feeling and sensing into those edges of your diaphragm, like a soft petal of a flower. Allowing the breath to be sweet, calm, nourishing. filling up and emptying out, slow motion. All right, let's bring the hands together now in front of the heart space. You're still on your back. You can always come up or stay there. You can always stay in Shavasana as long as you wish. On your next inhale, let the heart lift, and exhale, bow your head down, closing your practice. And thank you so much, everyone. Namaste. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.